thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob.
Hey yo, welcome to the show. Appreciate you joining along and hanging out with me on this week's episode. We're going to be talking about the film Spaceman, Netflix original film that hit over the weekend, debuted on the streaming service, stars Adam Sandler. As well, we're going to be talking about news all around the realm of movies, of course, with the mandatory DCU, DC Studios, DC Films, DC Comics, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk news going on over there, as well as mandatory horror news, and then anything else going on around the realm of film. But like I mentioned, first thing first, we're going to talk about the film Spaceman movie, whatever you want to call it. I saw something the other day that said you can't call, if somebody calls movies films like they're stuck up or something. I don't know. I'm just talking. I don't know. I call movies movies. I call movies films. I call movies a good time. Sometimes. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this movie. Spaceman is rated R for language, and that's it. It is a sci-fi adventure film running in at 1 hour and 48 minutes, and as previously mentioned, it is streaming now on Netflix as a Netflix original jam, if you will. Film stars Adam Sandler, who is playing a character that is 6 months into solitary research mission to the edge of the solar system. So, of course, he's playing an astronaut. And we can go from there. You can read the synopsis later if you want to. The film also stars Carey Mulligan and has some voice work from Paul Dano. Fantastic cast all the way around right there. Film is rated on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics at a 50%, while the audience is at a 64%, and IMDb has it at a 5.8 out of 10. So, what were my thoughts on the film? So, man, going into this movie, I knew nothing other than the fact it was called Spaceman. It's on Netflix and it starred Adam Sandler. Other than that, I didn't know anything. I hadn't watched the trailer, didn't read the synopsis. I was just jumping in. So I didn't know necessarily what I was getting into. I could guess. I thought, maybe comedy, because they're doing that thing where we know Adam Sandler, and, I grew up in the 90s, so I grew up with Adam Sandler's launch to fame, and we know Adam Sandler from Saturday Night Live and a lot of comedy films he does, and we kind of shoehorn actors into things, something we unfairly do, of course, because actors can have the ability to do many different types of films, and Adam has shown us that through the years with Uncut Gems or Spanglish, things of that nature. So he has that ability, but I think we always have that thing in our brain. We're like, oh, Adam Sandler, we know he does comedy movies. So I was thinking I was getting into a comedy film here. Not at all the case with this movie. This movie is, it does say sci-fi adventure, and of course there is sci-fi and adventure in the film when we're talking about solar systems, astronauts, research, all those kind of things. We do get that. It is a film that takes place primarily in space, and on a space station ship. So there's your sci-fi aspect of it. Mainly, though, what this movie is a drama. This is a drama film through and through that embodies again, he's on solitary research. So it's going around being in this solitary environment, being alone, being by yourself, and what that can do and affect you. Being there, again, he's been there 6 months already, and he still has a little more time to go before the research is done in his mission. So it centers around his character and what his character is going through, being in this solitary area, dealing with his life, right? Dealing with his mission. That's the most important thing. But also in the back of his mind, he's left a wife who is pregnant on Earth, and he has to deal with those emotions. And we do see the wife, and we see her and the emotions she is dealing with as well. They are not in a happy relationship by any means. Adam's character has, become distant, and they explain that throughout the movie. Of course, I don't give spoilers when talking about films because I don't like doing that. So we're dealing with drama in multiple aspects here, from being alone to being alone in two different ways, right? One, being alone in the fact that you're being so involved in your work and just shutting everything else off, and being alone because your partner is not there, and you're going through this thing with being pregnant and you're by yourself and your partner's literally not on Earth. So completely away from you. So you're dealing with drama in that aspect, and you're also dealing with, it kind of comes into the sci-fi aspect of it all. Um, that there is it says in the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler. There's a creature that comes into the fold here that is voiced by Paul Dano, and through that and everything, you deal with, is it reality? Is it not? Is he losing his mind since he's been up in this solitary environment all by himself for this long period of time? 6 months is a long time. I know it seems crazy because we're already in March of this year and it seems like time flies by really quickly, but just imagine if you're up in space by yourself, how slowly time can move. So the film goes from there and focuses on the kind of can be like a mental health film, if you will. It focuses on looking at your past and going through your past and looking at your past mistakes and seeing if there's something that you can learn from those past mistakes to help better yourself in the moving forward process of life. So for this character in this film, he's up in space. Is there something that he can do to fix any wrongs he's done in his past, and learning more about himself and why these things have happened in his past and why they're affecting his present and will affect his future going forward. So like I mentioned, very dramatic movie, but overall, enjoyable film. Like I had a good time going with this movie again, going in completely blind, not expecting to get involved in a drama film here. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. You know, it got to the point, like I mentioned, there's a creature in the movie, so um, you get to that point where you get the little sci-fi and how, will this be too over the top or too insane? But I think it fits the idea of what they're putting on in this film, and again, it's very telling and maybe even helpful for somebody who's going through some maybe the same struggle where you're at this point in life where you don't know anything other than just staying solitary and moving forward and being stuck in this thing, and things have happened in your past, and you know you haven't come to the ability to learn to accept what has happened in the past and learn to grow from that. And that's what this movie kind of gets around to, and is all that stuff. It's a headspace movie. It's a drama that's gonna help you learn, if you will, about the possibility of looking into yourself, and will you be able to learn about yourself more? Will you be able to grow and from that understanding of your past and all of those things? So very much a drama film, centered in space, and like I mentioned, it's primarily in space with Adam's character. We don't have a ton of performers in this movie. We do have actors, of course, in the film, but it's primarily focused on Adam's character and Carey Mulligan's characters in the film, and learning and growing from there. And solid film, man. If you have Netflix, yeah, go ahead and give it a check out. I don't know if you necessarily have, if I would say to get Netflix. That is something that, of course, I think the price has gone up again on Netflix. So up to you, obviously, if you want to get the streaming service or not. But I don't know if it's a movie you have to. Like, with Stranger Things, you're like, oh, Stranger Things is there. I have to get Netflix to watch this, or Wednesday or whatever, what have you, that people flock to Netflix for. I don't know if I would say the movie is something you necessarily have to get Netflix for to see, but if you do have Netflix, watch it. It is a solid film, man. So for me, I enjoyed it. I liked what I watched. I was into the drama of it. I was into seeing how it unfolds and seeing the human process of trying to look into your past and seeing if there's a way to learn from that past and get out of your own way, to learn from actions in the past or things that have happened in the past. If you're able to accept, forgive, and grow, if you will. So there you go, man. Drama film set in space. I had a good time with it. Made me tear up a little bit there towards the end. So solid enough film, right? So there you go, man. That's my thoughts on Spaceman. If you've checked it out on Netflix, let me know what your thoughts were on the film. All right, going from there, let's jump into, again, DCU film news with big news that happened since the last time we've talked here, ladies and gentlemen, uh, with Superman. Superman being the first live action film that'll be in the DCU, hitting July 11th, 2025. Of course, the first thing in the DCU will be Creature Commandos, hitting at some point this year, the animated show. I was already excited. But now we've got February 29th happened since the last time we talked, which is making leap year, leap day, and Superman's birthday is February 29th. So there was these rumblings and these rumors going on that all filming will start for Superman Legacy on that day. That's when James will start filming the film. Film movie, call it what you want, man. Do what you want in life. Come on now. Let's not worry about what people say about what you want to call a movie, whether you call it film or movie or reel or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just whatever. People worry about and get freaking talking. Anyways, there was the those rumors going around for, oh, it's a leap year. We only get one of those. It only happens every 4 years, right? So like that's when they're going to start filming because that's Superman's birthday and all this stuff. And lo and behold, that is exactly what ended up happening as Superman Legacy has gone into principal photography. And it's not the only thing we got with this. We've got a teaser image from James Gunn himself kind of showing off the suit just a little bit. We don't get to fully see our Superman in the suit, but we do see part of the suit with part of the logo showing there. So and I freaked when I saw it. Don't get me wrong. I freaked so much I didn't see all of the news that he released on here. So love it. I love the look of it. It's a little more colorful than Zack Snyder's, and that's not a shot at Snyder. I enjoyed the Snyder stuff, but it's a little more colorful. It's a little more what Superman's suit should look like. So love that, and also Gunn gave us a little bit more. I'm going to quote him here. He said, overjoyed to announce the start of principal photography on Superman today, February 29th, which just so happens to be, coincidentally and unplanned, Superman's birthday, end quote. So, if you notice there, I didn't say Superman Legacy, I said Superman. Gunn went on to say, quote, when I finished the first draft of the script, I called the film Superman Legacy. By the time I locked the final draft, it was clear that the title was, in all caps, Superman. The title's not in all caps, but I mean, it'd be hilarious. But the title of the movie is Superman. Continuing the quote saying, making our way to you July 2025, end quote. So yes, the film is no longer called Superman Legacy like it has been for the ever since they announced the DCU timeline so far, or slate. It is now officially called just Superman, which I absolutely freaked about that. I love the idea that it's just called Superman. That our first film in the DCU is going to be first live action film is going to be Superman, and it's just so perfect because Superman was the what first superhero, right? So it just feels so good. It feels so fitting, and it feels so right that the first film is going to be called Superman. Like, I absolutely love that. I'm so excited about that. I cannot wait, man. It's so interesting because there was a time where I wasn't a big Superman fan, and then just over these last couple of years, what Snyder did, especially with Henry Cavill just being so perfect in the role, to now with this new world we're going into with the DCU and this new introduction and freaking dude, man, David Cornsweet looks freaking. He looks good. He looks good for the role, man. Speaking of looking good for the role, freaking. Oh my God, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor looks great. Rachel freaking Brahjahana, I suck with names, who's playing Lois Lane, looks great. Skylar Gizzado playing Jimmy Ghost, they all look great. They did a cast photo with most of the cast. Shared it. James Gunn shared it. They all look great. They look awesome. The excitement is building. It's almost here, man. Like I mentioned, we get Creature Commando, the animated series, at some point this year. They haven't announced the date yet. They haven't announced it yet from what I've seen. And then the film hits in 2025. So there's so much excitement, so much and so excited. Other news involving that film, because that wasn't it. They've also cast Wendell Pierce as Perry White, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet newspaper. That, of course, is where Clark, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen all work. Again, the film will be releasing July 11th, 2025 in theaters. So excited. Cannot begin to freaking put into words how excited I am about all of this, man. Can't wait to see what James Gunn puts together over there. But I've got all the faith and trust over there what they got going on. Other DC news going on. We've got the chance of hearing our dynamic superhero. They're not. Never mind. Hero versus villain. Vigilante versus villain, if you will. As it has been announced, Kevin Conroy's Batman and Mark Hamill's Joker will both be in Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3, bringing that dynamic duo to us for one final time. Sadly, Kevin Conroy is no longer with us, so we will get to that in Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3, which I am, again, excited. I love DC, man. I love the DC stuff. Obviously, I have a part of my show dedicated to DC, but yeah, I love this stuff so much, and I can't wait to hear those two together again. They had such a great time going to, of course, Batman, the animated series, and forward with the Arkham games and all that stuff. Like, they're perfect together. They work so great together as Batman and Joker, and here one last final time is going to be emotional for sure, but going to be so amazing as well. All right, man. Going from there, let's jump into the horror section of the show with first kicking it off here with what's going on with Friday the 13th film-wise. We already know that Friday the 13th has a show coming to Peacock called Crystal Lake. So what's going on film-wise? Are they making a movie? Will they make a movie? What is the deal, right? So we don't know much at the moment, but we do know, and has come back around, is that James Jason Blum, Jesus, is very interested in doing a Jason Voorhees film, saying Friday the 13th is not a Blumhouse project, but I'm trying to will it into being one. It's just a piece of IP I've always loved. Blum would go on to say, quote, and James Wan and Atomic Monster are very passionate about it, and I think we would have them shepherd it for us. What? Shepherd? No, spear? No, that's shepherd. Shepherd it for us. That would be a lot of fun. End quote. And of course that's Blumhouse and Jason Blumhouse and James Wan, Atomic Monster have merged together. That's why he brings that up. So we're into it. Obviously, I think the first thing we mentioned or what comes to mind is Blumhouse did the Halloween films that recently came out, the Halloween trilogy that recently came out, was met with a lot of positivity with the first Halloween film, and then mixed reviews is what we'll say for Kills and Ends. So that's left a sour taste for some people, and for some reason, a lot of people did not like The Exorcist Believer. Still don't understand that. It is what it is. I've heard some of their reasonings, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. But I don't know what movie they were watching. But again, we're all allowed to have our own opinions about films. It is what it is, right? So it's just easy to say films, right? I don't know why it's so easy for me to say films. I don't know. Anyways, so that's that thing. But for me, with Blumhouse, I think Blumhouse has always kind of been that company that is hit and miss because they put out so much content, which necessarily isn't a problem. It's great to have a lot of content. And speaking of content, they released a film called Truth or Dare, and there's a little Truth or Dare reunion over the weekend for the premiere of Imaginary, which is coming out this week, and I will be reviewing on next week's show. But yeah, that was cool. I bring that up because I love Lucy Hale to death, and she shared that and all that stuff. And we're talking Blumhouse right now. Anyways, I'm so this is how it would be if you talk to me in real life. This is how I am. I don't know what to say. Not the most socially person in the world, but socially person. See, I can't even say it right. I'm not the most social person in the world, but we're talking movies. I'm in there, man. We're talking Halloween Horror Nights. I'm in there, man. Universal theme park stuff in there, right? Anyways, Blumhouse. Friday the 13th. So we don't know what's going on film-wise. Jason Blum saying this. I don't know why you wouldn't want to work with Jason Blum and James Wan. They're two of the biggest names in horror now. I mean, basically it's them and Jordan Peele, right? So those are like the big names in horror right now. Of course, you still have Carpenter out there, and you have all these other big names that have been part of horror for decades and all that stuff. I'm just saying, like, those are the three names that are constantly brought up when it comes to horror in this generation. So, and of course, the legal battle that's gone on over there for a while. Believe, if I remember correctly, Victor Miller won the rights to the first film, I guess, and that's where they're going with the Crystal Lake show, if I'm correct. I don't know. There's so much stuff going on over there with Friday the 13th behind the scenes and about ownership and all that stuff between Victor Miller and Sean S. Cunningham and all that. So I don't know, but if I'm somebody out there and I'm like, Okay, Chucky's been out here doing great with the TV series, and we'll see how Crystal Lake ends up doing. Michael's still been out there. Leatherface has still been out there. Saw just came back and did very well. The Purge is coming back. There's all these horror franchises still going on, and we've been sitting dormant for so long. Like, maybe you go to a Jason Blum who had Megan come out last year that was extremely successful, and has had other extremely successful films. And, you have James Wan, who is behind the Conjuring universe, which has been one of the biggest universes in horror in recent times. It's obvious you should go to those two people. Like, hey, now maybe there's a problem with Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th does have a formula to its film that maybe doesn't fit the time, so they're going to have to figure something out there. Maybe that's what's in that area that's tough to make a Friday the 13th film now. I don't know. But again, we'll all see what ends up happening. I would obviously say, hey, James Wan, Jason Blum, go ahead. Let's try this out. But nonetheless, we do have Peacock giving us a straight-to-series order for the series Crystal Lake, which is being described as an expanded prequel to the original Friday. So we'll see what ends up happening there. We don't have a release date for that yet. There is a lot of expectations that'll be hitting later this year in, say, October, but we will have to wait and see what the dealio with that'll be. Going from there, Ty West is, of course, almost at the end of his X trilogy with Maxine on the horizon, which is a sequel to X and Pearl, starring Mia Goth as the main character in both of those films. Maxine will be the character in the 1980s. We don't really have a release date for that yet either, but there's teasing for a continuation already of that story, with Ty West saying, quote, "There is this one weird idea that I have that is kind of, if I explained it, it would make sense, but we'll see what happens. Let's get this movie done first, see if people like it, then we'll go from there," end quote. I have not seen Pearl yet. I saw X. I enjoyed X, surprisingly enough, because it does play a lot like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of film, but it's also got other vibes to it, so it kind of helped me get through it. Yeah, I haven't seen Pearl, but I've heard a lot of people did enjoy that movie, but I have heard a lot of people say they don't like that movie as much as they like X, so again, mixed match of thoughts there, but I would need to see it at some point in time. And then, of course, like I said, we have Maxine coming out at some point. There's not been an official release date for that. There hasn't even been a trailer for that, if I'm correct. So we'll see what all happens there. But to hear that they're maybe going forward with something there, I'm sure there's a lot of fans that will be excited nonetheless about that. So that's news. Let's see. Quick hits reel here. Jesus. Ghostbusters, we got a final trailer for that. That'll be releasing later this month. Highly excited for that movie. The Strangers, Chapter 1, the beginning of a new trilogy of Strangers films over there. They released a trailer, their first trailer. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, which I quote tweeted that trailer saying the blood and honey will spill again, and they liked it, so that was good. Nonetheless. So we got a trailer for that movie as well, with some new characters added into the film. Say what you will about the first movie, I enjoyed it. So, and they're doing like a whole universe over there now with all these creatures. See if I can pull that up real quick. Like they are very much working in the Disney's letting us work here. There, all that stuff is free for us to now jump into and use category. So they're definitely doing that, and they're more power to them, man. You've got the chance to do it, go ahead and do it. So it's called the Twisted Childhood Universe. This was shared by the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey account, so I know that this is real. It's called the Twisted Childhood Universe. So the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey films. We also have Bambi: The Reckoning on the way. We have Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare, Pinocchio Unstrung as well, and they are teasing an announcement on March 22nd, a film that will very much blow your minds. What do you think it could be? Yada yada yada. But of course, tickets are on sale now, and Blood and Honey will be hitting cinemas 26th, 27th, and 28th of March. So limited run there for the film. Now, you notice I didn't mention the Steamboat Willie movie that I did a trailer reaction for. What was that called? Mickey's Mouse Trap? Mickey Mouse's Trap? Mickey's Mouse Trap. I messed it up in the review, and I'm still gonna mess it up here. So we got that one coming in. I feel like there's a teaser for another Steamboat Willie as well, because as soon as Steamboat Willie became public domain, they started working on Mickey Mouse stuff. So it is what it is. Go ahead and do what you gotta do. A lot of those Disney stories got a horrific background to them, which I wouldn't mind seeing those brought to life. I don't know when Little Mermaid and stuff like that will become public domain, but there's some wild stuff going on in those films and all that. So I'm here for it, man. I'm gonna watch horror films. I watch them all the time. I have Shudder and Screambox, and I'm always looking for a section I go to on any other streaming services. Oh, what we got over here in the horror section, right? So I love horror. I plan on doing a special show on the Throw Me Podcast Network's Patreon that it will be just reviewing horror films, a bit like this show, but just reviewing horror films. So if you like my reviews on this show, God, thank you. First off, I don't know how good of a reviewer I am, but I appreciate you listening to the show, and I'm gonna keep doing this because I love doing it. And we'll have that special show over there. We're just talking horror films. Like I watch horror, like I mentioned, I watch horror films all the time. So a vast majority of the time. Right now, I'm in the middle of WrestleMania watches because we're in WrestleMania times, and the WWE 2K game is about to come out, so I'm about to be in that world as well, with gameplays hitting our YouTube, Throwing Podcast Network YouTube. So nonetheless, they got all that stuff going on. SpongeBob, and other horror news. SpongeBob did an Evil Dead reference in their show, of all things, in an episode titled Tango Tangle backslash Necro Nom 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 Icon. There is SpongeBob holding the Necronomicon, which is also known as the Book of the Dead from the Evil Dead franchise, which has got people's attention. Horror news sites have been sharing it. Freaking Bruce Campbell himself has mentioned it as well. So, pretty cool, unexpected thing to happen there. SpongeBob's always been a little wacky, on the little wacky side over there, sometimes from the episodes I have seen. So, more power to him, man. It was just a cool, unexpected thing that happened, but horror is everywhere and is awesome. All right, that's it for the horror news. Let's go into the last bit of news here before we close the show out. And this is the other section where we talk all kinds of things. Kicking it off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles news, with a sequel officially announced for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which was obviously expected at this point with all the raving reviews and good business the first film did. I did review it. You can check that out on a previous episode. The film has been given an release time of October 9th, 2026. So the sequel is happening. It will have director Jeff Rowe, and it will be in theaters in 2026. I know it seems like a long time away, but this is a special animation film. It's gonna take its time, babies. Let's see. The Naked Gun franchise is being rebooted with none other than Liam Neeson. Starring in the reboot. This is moving forward over at Paramount and will be landing in July of 2025. So there you go, man. Let's see. Sony has moved Bad Boys 4 up a week. It was going to release later in June, mid-June, but now has been moved to June 7th of this year. News of the change came last week when they announced that the John Wick spin-off film Ballerina would be moving from its June 7th release to June 6th, 2025, so pretty much a whole year later. That move also coincides with the fact that the Crow film, the new Crow film reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, is releasing on June 7th, so it's a battle there between the Bad Boys and the Crow, which Crow news, they released the first photos for that movie, and do your thing. It doesn't look anything like the other Crow, which is, I mean, fine. You're doing your own artistic expression in the thing you're creating here. So it is what it is. A lot of people have not been happy with the look of it. Let's just say Bill Skarsgård has got short hair, covered in random tattoos, including a crow on one of his chest plates there, with the eye being his nipple. So, hey, If you love Bill Skarsgård, you're gonna love seeing him shirtless, right? So you'll enjoy that. It looks a lot. I tweeted out earlier, and a lot of people have kind of gone this route as well. Not saying I created this. I'm just saying a lot of people notice this as well. That it does have a similar vibe to Jared Leto's Joker. Um, so take that as you will. I've never hated Jared Leto's Joker, so it is what it is. We'll have to see what it is. Bill Skarsgård, fantastic actor, so I'm not gonna sit here and crap on a performance I have not seen. I wouldn't even crap on it anyways, because why live in negativity? But um, yeah, there you go. That's the thing that's happened this week. And let's see, last bit of news. Sure, last bit of news here is I'm gonna mess this name up, and I hate myself for it. I mess up names all the time. Welcome to the show. If you're new here, I suck at names. Last bit of news here is that Louis Travaholi, I suck with names, sorry, has been confirmed that she will be returning to voice Moana in Moana 2, um, the much anticipated sequel to the Moana film. She will be returning to voice the main character in, quote, Walt Disney Animation Studios' epic animated musical Moana 2, which takes audiences on an expansive new voyage with Moana, Maui, and a brand new crew of unlikely seafarers. After receiving an unexpected call from her wayfinding ancestors, Moana must journey to the far seas and into dangerous, long-lost waters for an adventure unlike anything she's ever faced. Moana 2 will be hitting theaters this year, November 27th, 2024. Um, fine. I loved the first Moana movie. I'm excited we're going back there. I'm glad she is back performing the voice work for Moana. It seems only perfect, and she's fantastic in her own right. She stars in. Um, she's one of the stars in quite possibly my favorite film so far, 2024. You know what? Yeah, it's still my favorite film of 2024. Mean Girls, the musical that came out earlier this year. Lisa Frankenstein's right there with it. Loved that movie as well. Those two films are very close to each other. We'll see how things pan out at the end of the year when we do the rankings. But Mean Girls just hit in such a big bad way for me to where still, ever since seeing that movie, I still rock some songs from that soundtrack, including a song she does called I'd Rather Be Me. Perfect. She's a fantastic singer. We already knew that. And glad she's back from Moana. Now, if you remember with Moana, that's not the only news that's been going on over there with that franchise, as they did announce a live action Moana movie, and maybe you're wondering, what does this do for that? What's happening with that? Are they still making that live action movie even though they're doing a Moana 2 animated film? And the answer to that is yes. The live action Moana film is still in the works with Aloy, returning to executive produce that film. She won't be starring as Moana, but she will be producing the film. However, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who's back in the WWE in a big, bad, awesome Hollywood Rock way, which I love, Team Rock, Team Bring It Forever. Screw that story. Just saying. I got to be on the Rock side. But he will be in the film reprising his role as Maui, who'll be playing the live action version of Maui, which makes sense. I mean, it's around the character. Louis Maui's Maui Moana's gonna be younger than Louis is in age, but that live action film is still happening, and it will be hitting theaters. Currently set for June 2nd, 2025. So they're going for that summer blockbuster over there at Disney. Best of luck to them. Moana is a film that could work very well as a live action movie. So good luck to them over there with that. And with that, that would end this episode. Like always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my show and hear this goofball that I am ramble on about movie news. If you, again, like Spaceman, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you have not seen it, if my review swayed you to see it, let me know that in the comments as well, because again, I don't know what kind of reviewer I am. I'm just talking, man. But I have a good time doing the show, and again, always appreciate you joining in to listen to the show. Love this little passion project of mine. So fun times to come. A lot of things working on. Like I mentioned, got that horror show that is coming to our Patreon as I clean up some ideas for that, and then other fun stuff on the horizon as well. It's going to be more theme park centered. Of course, I do have the Disnoids when my brother Tombstone Josh will be kicking out a new episode, hopefully this week. Nothing, messes us up. Was unable to do the show last week, unfortunately, but this week, hopefully schedule's allowing, we'll be able to talk some stuff because there's some theme park stuff going on, and love doing that show as well. I love talking theme parks. So That's it, man. Thank you for listening to the show. Please like, follow, subscribe on the Throw Me Podcast Network. We have all kinds of fun stuff going on our YouTube with all kinds of shows and entertainment over there. And like I mentioned, WWE 2K24 will be releasing this week. I will be getting that game. I will have gameplays hitting our YouTube not too long after that, man. So thank you all for joining in and listening to the show. And as always, I like to leave the episode with this quote that I absolutely love and will one day have tattooed on me. Um, Happiness can always be found, even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.